Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So today we have come to the final class of the book 5, which is about the Sangha, and we have been studying what is called the part 5 Vinaya for the ladies. And in the last class, we have covered the one of the very important sections about Vinaya for wealthy, and we have seen as to how the Buddha has been talking about the Vinaya for the ladies. So here today we will be looking at the page number 460 to onwards to page number 467, and we are going to look at the Buddha's Vinaya for the ladies or lay people. So there is a very famous sutta in Buddhism called Sigalovada Sutta, and it's often talked about as to how the Buddha taught to very different group of how we can relate to the different relationship that we have in our lives. And therefore, I think this particular sutta, Sugalavada Sutta, is very important for us to understand. And Dr. Baba Ambedkar is very meticulous in making this sutta into a kind of a code of Vinaya for the ladies. And therefore, we will look at some of the aspects of this very wonderful Sigalovada Sutta as presented by Baba Ambedkar. It's a very profound sutta. So the setting of the sutta, as we have seen, always begins with where the Buddha is, or the Buddha visits somewhere. So this is the setting where the Buddha is in the Karuvela, squirrels feeding ground in Veluvana, in Rajagraha. So that is the setting of the sutra. And then, at that time, young Sigala, a householder, son, rising betimes, went forth from Rajagraha, and with wet hair and wet garments, and clasped his hands uplifted, paid worship to the several quarters of earth and sky. So he paid his homage to all the directions, six directions, the four traditional directions, and the zenith and the nadir, the upward direction and the downward direction. So he paid his homage to the four directions, and the Buddha himself was there. He was dressed up, and he saw young Sigala worshipping. So the Buddha asked young Sigala, "Why do you worship the several quarters of earth and sky?" So this was a question, and we know that the Buddha always resorted to clarifying people's doubt, sometimes asking questions, sometimes probing deeply into their minds. So Sigala answers that my father, when he was dying, said to me, "Dear son, you should worship the quarters of earth and sky." So I, sir, honoring my father's word, worship in this wise. So that is what the Sigala told to Buddha. So the Buddha said, how can this be the true religion of a man of the world? Now you see the question of true religion. What can be the true religion of a man in the world? That is what the Buddha is asking. What else can be the religion of man? Replied Sigala. Sigala is saying, what can other be the religion, than to worship the four or six directions? If there is, it would be excellent thing if the exalted one would tell me what is it. So he says that, please, the Buddha, do you tell me what is it, the religion of the man? Now, please listen very carefully, because this is, as we have seen, that the Buddha goes gradually into very important teaching. So here, the Buddha is saying that give ear to my words, and I will tell you what it is. You see, this phrase, give ear, as we have seen in the previous parts of our classes as well, that is very important to give ear to the Buddha. It's very important to keep our hearts and minds open to learn what the Buddha is teaching. And, that's what the Buddha says here. There is a very beautiful technical word, yoniso manasikara. Give your, the profound attention to what I'm teaching. And if we begin to give our profound attention, that receptivity, that openness to learning the Buddha's teachings, we benefit a lot. So that's what the Buddha is saying. He's saying, give ear to my words and I will tell you what it is. So be it, sir, responded young Sigala. And the exalted one said, Now, this is the first thing that has to be in a religion for a man. A religion to be a religion of man must teach him to shun bad conduct. So the religion, whatever that is, it must teach the man to shun the bad conduct. So what is the bad conduct? The destruction of life, the taking of what is not given, licentiousness, and lying speech are the four vices of conduct which he must avoid. So the Buddha is talking about the four precepts. And traditionally, we know that the Buddha began with the four precepts, and the latter one related to the intoxicants was added. But the basic four precepts, the Buddha says that we have to practice the precepts. In other words, the Buddha is encouraging us to live the virtuous life. So, no a Sigala, evil deeds are done from motives of partiality. Why do we do the evil things? What is the source of we doing the evil things? The Buddha says, no a Sigala, evil deeds are done from motives of partiality. So, whenever we are partial, whenever we have a mind which discriminates between the people, when we have a mind that separates, people into our people and their people, if we have that partiality, then we are bound to commit what is called the evil deeds. Enmity, if our minds are full of enmity, then we are bound to commit the evil deeds. Stupidity, if our minds are stupid, then we are bound to commit what is called the evil deeds. And fear, out of fear. So there are four things by which we commit the evil deeds: partiality, enmity, stupidity, and fear. So four things are there, four motives are there. We are bound to commit the evil deeds of destruction of life, taking of what is not given, licentiousness, and lying speech are the four vices of conduct which he must avoid. Now, the first part is, of course, about what is called the precepts, or keeping the precepts, practicing the shilas. The second part, a religion to be religion of man must teach him not to dissipate wealth. So, in other words, the Buddha is asking us to guard our wealth. Buddha is asking us not to dissipate our wealth. And when he's talking about not dissipating wealth, we can take it as in terms of not squandering our resources. So whatever resources we have, if we begin to squander them, then it's not true religion. You see, we squander our wealth on so many things which are not beneficial to us. Isn't it? There are many things which are not beneficial to us, but we squander our money or wealth there. So Buddha is saying that, the religion must teach us not to dissipate the wealth. And what are the sources of the dissipation of wealth? So dissipation of wealth results from being addicted to intoxicating liquors. So if someone is addicted to any intoxication, particularly of liquors. Second, frequenting the street at unseemly hours, haunting fairs, being infatuated by gambling, associated with evil companions, the habit of idleness. If we have these six issues about by which way we dissipate our wealth, like we are addicted to the intoxicating liquor, that's one. Frequenting the streets at unseemly hours, haunting fairs, being infatuated by gambling, associated with evil companions, and the habit of idleness. If there are these six things that we do, we dissipate our wealth. And the Buddha is very particular about guarding, protecting our wealth. Buddha says that we should not squander our wealth. We should not squander our resources. That's what the Buddha says. So there are, Sigala, six dangers which follows from being addicted to intox. Now, there are six ways by which we dissipate the wealth. And of each of these regions of dissipating wealth, each of the six regions have the six corollaries, as it were, to it. So let's look at it. So there are six dangers which follow from being addicted to intoxicating liquors. So if we are intoxicated to the liquors, then what happens? Actual loss of wealth, increase of quarrels, susceptibility to disease, third, loss of good character, indecent exposure, impaired intelligence. You see, so if we are, intoxicated by the liquors, if we are intoxicated by drinks, the Buddha says that there are six ways by which there are six dangers. What are the six dangers? I'm going to repeat: actual loss of wealth, increase of quarrels, susceptibility to disease, loss of good character, indecent exposure, and impaired intelligence. If we frequent the streets at unseemly hours, there are six dangers. He himself is without guard or protection, and so also are his wife and children. So also is his property. He moreover becomes suspected as the doer of undiscovered crimes. and false rumors fix on him, and many other troubles he goes out to meet. So there are the 6 perils if we roam in the streets at the unseemly hours. 6 are the perils from the haunting of fairs. If we visit the parties or fairs or merrymaking things, events, then he's always thinking. He's ever thinking, where is their dancing? Where is their singing? Where is their music? Where is recitation? Where are the cymbals? This was type of of an instrument. Where the tam-tams? Where are the parties? Like that. So if we are thinking about haunting the fairs, or in the modern terms parties or whatever, there are 6 perils. 6 are the perils for him who is infatuated by gambling. If we are infatuated by gambling, then what happens? As winner, he begets hatred. When beaten, he mourns his lost wealth. His actual substance is wasted. His word has no weight in a court of law. He is despised by friends and officials. He is not sought after by those who would give or take in marriage, for they would say that a man who is gambler cannot afford to keep a wife. So there are 6 faults associated with gambling. Now there are 6 are the perils from associated with evil companions. So you see, the Buddha is saying that you also keep away from those people who are the evil companions. What are the 6 perils? Any gambler, any libertine, any tippler, any cheat, any swindler, any man of violence is his friend and companion. Isn't it? So the Buddha is, in other words, is asking us to keep away from those people who are like, gamblers or libertine or tipplers and cheat, swindlers, and any man of violence is his friend and companion. 6 are the perils of the habit of idleness. If we are not making efforts, if we are idle, then the Buddha says there are 6 perils. What are those? He says it is too cold and does no work. So idle man would say that today it is too cold, he doesn't work. He says it is too hot and does not work. Very important. We do it all the time, because the idle, indolence, the state of indolence or idleness. So, we are all having this disease to some extent. So, he says it's too cold and does no work. He says it is too hot and does no work. He says it's too early or too late and does no work. He says I'm too hungry and does no work. He says I'm too full and does no work. In other words, trying to find excuses for not doing the work. And while all that he should do remains undone, new wealth he does not get, and such wealth as he has dwindles away. Okay, so there are 6 ways by which we squander our wealth, and each of those 6 ways have 6 perils. So what we are talking about, the 36 dangers by which we lose our wealth. And if we lose our wealth, we are not practicing the real religion. And if any religion is asking us to dwindle our wealth like this, is not the religion for the human beings. A religion, to be a religion of man, must teach him to know who is a true friend. So 3 things are important. One is, to be virtuous. Second is to, not to squander the resources. The third and one of the very important things in the Buddha's teaching is to have a true friend. A true friend is very important. So you see, I'm going to read further and gloss over some of the points that we will be discussing. 4 are they who should be reckoned as foes in the likeness of friends. So the 4 kinds of people who looks like friends, but they are like our foes. What are those? To wit, a rapacious person, the man of words, not deeds, the flatterer, and the fellow waster. Okay. To wit, a rapacious person, the man of words, not deeds, the flatterer, and the fellow waster. Of these, the first to be recognized as a foe is in the likeness of a friend, for he is rapacious, he gives little and asks much, he does his duty out of fear, he pursues his own interest. So that is the first kind of a person who looks like a friend, but he or she is a foe. A man of words who is not a man of deeds is to be reckoned as a foe in the likeness of a friend, for he makes a friendly profession as regard the past. He says that I was so good with you in the past. He makes friendly profession as regard the future. He says, I will look after your interest in the future. He tries to gain your favor by empty sayings. So he says he makes empty promises to gain your favors. When the opportunity for service has arisen, he owes his disability. So whenever you need their help, they say that, they are not able to help you. The flatterer is to be reckoned as a foe in the likeness of a friend, for he both consents to do wrong and dissents from doing right. He praises to your face, he speaks ills of you to others. It's very clear, what kind of friends. They come in the garb of a friend, but they are the foes. That's what the Buddha says, that we have to guard from such, people who are like, who behave like friends, but they are foes. So also the fellow Western companion is to be reckoned as a foe in the likeness of a friend, for he is your companion when you frequent the streets at untimely hours. He is your companion when you haunt the shows and fairs. He is your companion when you are infatuated with gambling. So this is the fourth things. So this kind of the friends, the Buddha says we have to avoid and keep the company of the good friends. So, what are the good friends? There are four ways by which the friends, we can identify them as good friends. The helper, the one who helps us. The friend who is the same in happiness and adversity. The friend is not affected by our conditions. They will be always there whenever, we are in the happiness or in adversity. The friend of good counsel, the friend who can counsel us, who can talk to us so well that, they will try to seek our interest. The friend who sympathizes, a friend who loves you with their true heart, one who sympathizes with us is a true friend. Now, who is the helper friend? The friend who is a helper is to be reckoned as sound at heart, because he guards you when you are off your guard. See, what is the quality of the helper friend? The friend who is like a helper, who is trying to help us. He guards you when you are off your guards. He guards your property when you are off your guard. He is a refuge to you when you are afraid. When you are tasked to perform, he provides a double supply of what you may need. You see, that is the quality of a friend who is like a helper. The friend who is the same in happiness and adversity is to be reckoned as sound of heart, because he tells you his secrets. So friends, a friend who hides from you, who never divulges their secrets to you, is not a true friend. He keeps secrets. He keeps your secrets. He is the one who keeps your secrets. In troubles, he does not forsake you. So whenever you land up in any difficulty, they don't leave you. They are there with you. He lays down even his life for your sake. You see, the kind of friend that the Buddha is talking about is so dear to you. You are so dear to each other that you are ready to even leave, to lay down your life for their sake. The friend who declares what you need to do is the sound of heart, because he restrains you from doing wrong. So friend who restrains you, don't do it, it's wrong. He enjoins you to do what is right. He encourages you to do what is right. He informs you what you had not heard before. So he is having that quality of telling you what you don't know. He informs you of what you had not heard before. He reveals to you the way of heaven. He reveals to you the great way towards the truth. The friend who sympathizes is to be reckoned as sound at heart, because he does not rejoice over your misfortunes. So some misfortunes falls on you, this first, your friend never rejoices on that, because he does not rejoice over your misfortunes. He rejoices over your prosperity. So when you grow in any manner, in material or psychological manner, when you grow, they rejoice. He restrains anyone who is speaking ill of you. So if somebody is speaking ill of you, he will ask them to stop there. He commends anyone who is praising you. And when somebody praises you, he encourages that. So you see, what the Buddha is teaching here is, what is the true religion that we have to follow, in a sense of not worshipping just earth and the sky, not worshipping the six directions. So through Sigalo, the Buddha is saying that the true religion consists in having a good conduct, having, to follow the precepts, to be, in a society in such a way not to harm it. That's the way to live. That's the religion that a man should have. Second thing to have is not to squander the wealth, not to dissipate the wealth. And there are 6 ways by which one, dissipates the wealth, and there are the 6 corollaries of each of those 6 ways by which we squander our wealth. And Buddha is finally saying that live in the company of the friends, cherish friends, identify who is your foe and who is your enemy. And, this is how the Buddha says that, we can go ahead. So what I feel here is, the Buddha is giving a kind of a general definition as to how one should live in their lives through Sigala. And it's very famous sutta in Buddhism. Generally, this aspect is not much stressed. Instead of that, the 6 directions are compared with 6 different relationships that we have, the higher and the lower and the vertical relationship that we have. So the Buddha expounds them further for Vinaya, as Vinaya for the children. The same Sugalava Sutta goes further, and the Buddha says, Vinaya for children, as to the children should minister to his parents, saying, once supported by them, I will now be their support. I will perform duties incumbent on them. I will keep up the lineage and tradition of my family. I will make myself worthy of hermitage. For the parents show their love for him. They restrain him from vice. They exhort him to virtue. They train him to a profession. They contract a suitable marriage for him, and in due time they hand over his inheritance. So this is what the Buddha is, saying that to Sigala, that if you want to respect, if you want to practice respecting the higher direction, you serve your parents. Then he's saying to the students that they should minister to their teachers by rising from his seat, in salutation, by waiting upon them, by eagerness to learn, by personal service, and by attention when receiving their teaching. For teachers love their pupil, they train him in that wherein he has been well trained. They make him hold fast that which is well held. They thoroughly instruct him in the lore of every art. They speak well of him among his friends and companions. They provide for his safety in every quarter. So the Buddha is saying that you should look after your teachers like that. Then there is a Vinaya for husband and wife. How the husband and wife should treat each other. A husband should minister to his wife by showing respect, by courtesy, by faithfulness, by handing over authority to her, by providing her with adornment. For the wife loves him, her duties are well performed, by hospitality to the kin of both, by faithfulness, by watching over the goods she brings, and by skill and industry in discharging all her business. Then a clansman should minister to his friends. He's saying that the husband and wife should look after each other, and a clansman should minister to his friends and companions. So how do we treat our friends and companions? We treat our friends and companions by generosity, courtesy, benevolence, by treating them as he treats himself, and by being as good as his words. For his friends and familiars love him. They protect him when he is off his guard, and on such occasion guard his property. They become a refuge in danger. They do not forsake him in his trouble, and they show consideration for his family. So this is what the Buddha says, how we relate to with our friends and companions. Then the Buddha says that how we can practice the Vinaya with master and servant. A master should minister to his servants and employees by assigning them work according to their strength. Do not give the work to other people which is not in accordance with their strength. Give only what they can do. By supplying them with food and wages, by tending them in sickness, by sharing with them unusual delicacies, by granting leave at times. For servants and employees love their master. They rise before him. They lie down to rest after him. They are content with what is given to them, and they do their will, and they carry about his praise and good fame. Okay. And finally, a clansman or a good man should minister to religious teachers by affection in acts and speech and mind, by keeping open house to them, by supplying their temporal needs. For religious teachers refrain him from doing evil. They exhort him to do good. They love him with kindly thought. They teach him what he had not heard. They correct and purify what he had heard. So you see, when we look at this particular things that the Buddha has taught Vinaya in every condition, every relationship, and these Vinayas are very important for the householders to uphold, to practice. And as we have seen in the previous classes, that the rules of good conduct are not just only for the bhikshus or bhikshunis, They are also for the upasakas and upasikas. They are also for every human being. They are applicable to every human being in all their relationship. So what Buddha is talking about is having this enlightened relationship with all those whom we relate with. For example, with our friends, how do we relate with our companions, how do we relate with our spouses, how do we relate with our masters, how do we relate with our children, how do we relate with, if we are a child of somebody, how do we relate with our parents, so on and so forth. So you see, this is a very vast domain of how to have this Vinaya in the relationship. And as the definition of the Vinaya goes, it is something which leads to higher. So if we are leading our life like this, then we are bound to attain to the higher life and higher cultured ways of living. So finally, there is a conclusion of the Sigalovada Sutta, and I'm going to read it, the Sigalovada Sutta, the conclusion part of it. When the Exalted One had thus spoken Sigala, the young householder said this, beautiful Lord, beautiful, as if one should set up again that which had been overthrown, or reveal that which had been hidden, or should disclose the road to one that was astray, or should carry a lamp into a darkness, saying, they that have eyes will see, even so has the truth been manifested by the Exalted One in many ways. And I, even I, do go to him as my refuge, and to the truth, the Dhamma, and to the order, the Sangha. May the Exalted One receive me as his lay disciple, as one who has taken his refuge in him from this day forth, as long as life endures. So there ends the Sigalova Sutta. And as we have seen that this book 5 of the Buddha and his Dhamma is very profound in the sense of bringing, and making us understand what is the purpose of Sangha, how do we constitute a Sangha, and what ways, what methods we keep on the Sangha going further, and what is the Sangha in essence is the picture of the ideal society. The Buddha wanted to bring the ideal society, but he has to show that the ideal society is possible in some kind of a model. And that's what the Sangha was, a kind of a model for the larger society as to how should they relate to. But that doesn't mean that the Buddha excluded the upasakas or upasikas or even a common man from the code of Vinayas, from the beautiful laws which beautify our lives like Vinaya. And that's what Buddha has been teaching in this section, as Baba Ambedkar has brought into in this book 5 of the Buddha and his Dhamma. There is a last one page which is about Vinaya for girls, but it's very generic, and I'm not going to go into that. But there is a Vinaya for girls, and we know that the Buddha gave so much importance to the girl child, saying that in some cases they might be better than the boy child. The Buddha has said that to the Prasenajit. So what I'm going to do now is to stop here, and that we have now finished book 5 of the Buddha and his Dhamma so far, and now 3 more books are remaining, and we will continue to explore them every week, parts of it. But to conclude this section of the Sangha, we have seen in the Buddha and his Dhamma up to the book 5, the Baba Ambedkar has very meticulously designed the book. He talked about the Buddha in the initial part, he talked about the Dhamma, and the book 5 is all about the Sangha. And remaining 3 books are coming again back to the Buddha as to how we can, live like the Buddha. He is guiding us through the life of the Buddha as to how we can live our life at its best. So I will stop here today, and we will open up the class for any comments, questions, and answers. So anything? Anything that anybody has to say? Anybody has anything to say today? Rahul ji, Vidya, Dr. Sunil sir. If there is nothing, then should we end the class here?
Yes, sir, we can end.
Good, good, good. Because there is nothing much to discuss here. It's all very clear when we read it, and I think we can finish the class here. So thank you so much, and see you next week. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya.
Jai Bhim, sir.